Here is the truth. A lot of your favorite stars didn't come into the league as just bona fide studs. Now you might say for many stars the rise to superstardom is something that happens gradually, but as fans there are just certain stretches, certain moments in a player's career that we just watch and we just know that we are seeing a superstar being born right in front of our eyes. Today we're going to be talking about some of these moments for some of our favorite NBA players. Drafted 7th overall by the Golden State Warriors in 2009, Stephen Curry was looked at to be a good lead guard next to Monte Ellis at the time. But time after time, injuries just kept on derailing him, and we weren't so sure if he would be able to have a great or even a long career with the way he was consistently getting hurt. Now, Curry was already a good player leading up to this moment, but specifically on February 27th of 2013, Stephen Curry had a game versus the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. And in this night, Steph Curry solidified himself as just like must-watch basketball. In this game, the 24-year-old Stephen Curry lit the Knicks up for 54 points while hitting 11 of 13 from downtown. Even though the Warriors ended up losing this game by 4 points, you could clearly tell that this wasn't like a Corey Brewer type of performance. This was something that we would remember years down the line. Also, shout out Corey Brewer. Up to this point, Curry hasn't even made an all-star team, but everything we come to expect from a Curry performance like this was in full effect that night. The inside-out dribbles, the super quick release off the jumper, launching bombs from everywhere. Stephen Curry was Stephen Curry this night. When Kobe Bryant first came into the league, he wasn't looked at as a superstar on arrival by most. But in hindsight, the Hornets drafting and trading Kobe would turn out to be one of the biggest mistakes in NBA history. However, at the time, in his first 2 years in the league specifically, yes, he was decent, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't anything close to a superstar. Unless you're one of the few that really thinks that averaging a rounded up 8 points a game is superstar caliber numbers. If you're that type of person, feel free, be my guest. But it wasn't until his 4th year, in the year 2000, where Kobe Bryant showed that he could be a bona fide first option, and it was this year where he established himself as the clear second superstar of the team next to Shaquille O'Neal. While yes, this year was really the year that marked Kobe as a perennial all-star in this league, as in this season he averaged roughly 23 points, 5 assists and 6 rebounds, and from here on out really just took off. But if we're keeping it a buck, links in the description, you know what I'm saying? These numbers don't really scream superstar. However, it was in the 2000 playoffs where we really got a glimpse of what Kobe could and would become. In the playoffs, the Lakers struggled as a whole against the Chris Webber-led Kings, as well as against the extremely deep Portland Trailblazers, but Kobe Bryant led them to wins over both of those teams, and specifically in the last game against the Trailblazers, Kobe Bryant erased a 15-point deficit while scoring 25 points and grabbing 11 rebounds, while also dishing out 7 assists. That closeout game against the Trailblazers was really one of the first time in Kobe's career where he showed his superstar potential when it mattered the most, and this play translated very well the next year when Kobe showed that he can produce at this level way more consistently, averaging roughly 29 points, 5 assists and 6 rebounds in the 2001 NBA season, further cementing his superstar status. Drafted out of ASU by the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2009, James Harden spent his first 3 years in the league coming off the bench where he played a pivotal role in some really good Oklahoma City Thunder teams led by Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. And in 2012, he won the 6th Man of the Year award, averaging 17 points and 4 assists on some really good efficiency. That same year, the Oklahoma City also went to the NBA Finals, however lost to a superior Miami Heat team, and to make a long story short, James Harden was traded to the Houston Rockets in the following offseason after the Thunder thought it was in their best interest to move him. And as a Houston Rocket, it wouldn't take long for James Harden to show that he was more than just some 6th man in the league. In his very first game, James Harden put up a ridiculous 37 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals while leading the Houston Rockets to their very first victory of the season. And then in the very next game was able to follow that performance with a 45-point performance versus the Atlanta Hawks, also leading to a win. In his first year in Houston, almost every single statistic went up for James Harden in a dramatic fashion, especially his scoring going from a 17-point per game scorer to a 26-point per game scorer. Also, along with the help of Kevin McHale, James Harden Harden turned the Houston Rockets into one of the most explosive teams in the league that year, with the Rockets leading the league in points per game at 106.2, as well as having the 6th highest offensive rating in the league. It was also getting to the free throw line at will, averaging 10.3 trips a game, while shooting 86% of his free throw attempts. In 2013, James Harden established himself as the most important Houston Rocket, as well as the clear franchise cornerstone of that team. Dwayne Wade in 2003 rose up on draft boards due to an incredible March Madness run where he led Marquette to a Final Four appearance. The Miami Heat made a playoff push in his rookie year where he had some good moments in those playoffs, including this ridiculous shot in his first ever playoff game.
Puts it up. It's good. Yeah, baby. Came through.
And then the next year, we saw him push his points per game up to 24 a game. And in his second year in the league against the Wizards in the playoffs, Dwayne Wade dropped a masterful 42-point game, sending the Heat to their first ever Eastern Conference Finals appearance. However, in my opinion, while I do believe the 2004 playoff run that D-Wade had was really underrated, to me it wasn't until the 2006 NBA playoffs, more specifically in the finals, where D-Wade not only established his superstarness, is that the word? Not just his superstar status, there you go, but also his status as an all-time legend. Because in the finals, D-Wade just, look, legendary. That is the one word that can describe that finals performance. This is a performance that we also talked about in this video right here, but we'll recap it again for the people who don't know. The Miami Heat found themselves quickly down 2-0 in the series. However, in Game 3, down 13 points with 6 minutes left to go, Dwayne Wade would score 12 points in this time frame and 15 points in the fourth quarter as a whole to keep the Miami Heat in this series. The Miami Heat would win the next 3 straight to beat the Dallas Mavericks and win the NBA Finals, while Dwayne Wade averaged 39.2 points per game in those last 4 games, last 4 wins of this finals series. The 4th overall pick in the 2005 NBA draft, Chris Paul, didn't waste no time showing how good he was and how much poise he had. It almost looked like Chris Paul was already in the league for like 5 years as a rookie, as in his rookie year he led all rookies in points, assists, steals, and double-doubles, and only finished 1 vote shy of a unanimous Rookie of the Year award. The next year was another really solid year, but it wasn't until his 3rd year, and look, his 3rd year, Christopher Paul's 3rd year, let's just say this is why people believe, including myself, that Chris Paul is one of the greatest players to not have a championship. Although by the time you're watching this video, he may already have one, or may not, sadly, but hopefully he has one. In 2008, Chris Paul led the Charlotte Hornets to a franchise record 56 wins that year, as well as the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. In the playoffs, CP3 averaged 21 points a game and led the league in assists with 11.2 a game, along with averaging 2.7 steals. But let's just rewind it back a little bit, just a little bit, and talk about his NBA playoff debut. In his playoff debut, Chris Paul torched the Dallas Mavericks for 35 points, and then in Game 2, set the franchise record for assists with 17 assists in this game. He then closed out the Mavericks out in 5 games and ended them on a triple-double masterpiece, putting up 24 points, 15 assists, and 11 rebounds. Mind you, this is a 6-foot point guard getting 11 rebounds. And from the series on, Chris Paul was widely recognized as an NBA superstar. Depending on what your definition of what a superstar is, you can really argue that LeBron has been a superstar since high school. Cameras followed him everywhere. He was on so many magazines, and he was without a doubt the #1 pick coming out of high school and arguably the most touted player in NBA history. And in his first couple years in the league, he was all he was hyped up to be. But the same way people were and still are hesitant to throw that superstar terms at players like Luka Doncic and Trae Young after their 2nd year in the league putting up those ridiculous numbers, people were still looking for that moment from LeBron to really, and I mean really, establish his superstar status. By 2007, many NBA fans knew that LeBron James was already the truth, you know what I'm saying? Looking at his 2006 season, you could have already made the argument that he was a superstar and not get too much pushback on it. But in 2007, hey, yo, editor, just run the tape, man, just run the tape.
Banking his way. Hamilton coming over to help. Here's the fade. LeBron James. And here's James. Tips it home. And Steele defending on James. LeBron with the step back stuffs. 89-88. Cleveland.
Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, series tied 2-2 on the road, and LeBron James drops 48 points, 7 assists, and 9 rebounds a game against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. In the last 16 minutes of the game, LeBron would score 29 in the team's final 25 points, forced overtime with a dunk with 9 seconds left in the game, and then finished double overtime off with a layup with 2 seconds left. The Cavs went on to win that game 109-107, and they went on to beat the Pistons in 6 games and head to LeBron's first of many finals appearances. Kevin Durant was selected with the number 2 overall pick after averaging 25 points a game in college. So going into the NBA draft, we already knew he was a deadly scorer. And he was obviously branded to be a superstar, but that superstar status didn't happen right away. Yes, Kevin Durant did average 20 points a game in his rookie year. It wasn't on the insane, damn near perennial 50-40-90 splits we're used to from him now. In his rookie year, he shot only 43% from the field and 29% from behind the arc. Imagine Kevin Durant, even in the last 5 years, averaging 29% from 3. That would be all over the news. But it wasn't until his 3rd year in the league where he really took off. As in his 3rd year in the league, Kevin Durant averaged 30.1 points a game, which led the league that year, and the Thunder were finally able to make the playoffs as the 8th seed, where they ended up losing to the eventual champion LA Lakers. His 4th year, however, is when Kevin was able to really start putting everything all together, as his scoring became the most pivotal part in OKC's success that year, where they won 55 games, one of the best records in the conference that year. And then he would continue his dominant play in the playoffs, where against the Denver Nuggets, Kevin Durant dropped 41 not just in Game 1, but also in the closeout game in Game 5. Now, I don't think we can really point to a specific moment for Kevin Durant, but this was really the season people started accepting KD in those top 5 conversations, and he hasn't really left those conversations ever since. If y'all like this video, man, go crazy, man. Go crazy. Show us some love. Watch this video right here where I talked about some of the greatest NBA Finals performances in NBA history. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.